Testing. One,
Hello,
two.
everyone, and welcome to another 2017 Game of the Year Roundtable discussion. I am your host this evening, Alex O'Neill, and today we are talking about everyone's favorite loot game, as far as I'm concerned, Destiny 2. And I have been joined by a wonderful panel of guests to talk about it today. Joining me is Chris Nunes.
Hello.
Teddy Chinaris.
That is me.
And Jerrad Wyche.
Yeah, that's me as well.
I think I got it. And we're going to talk about Destiny 2. Normally with these, it's like, oh, let me give a spoiler warning or whatever. I don't think that really matters with Destiny 2.
No.
Everyone knows what they're getting into.
Matter.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna start off with kind of like a trickier question. Actually, we'll start with the icebreaker, and then I'll get to the trickier question. So we'll go
icebreaker. I see what you did there.
Yeah. So we'll go around, and I just want to know, what's everyone's relationship with the original Destiny? Because it's important. It informs Destiny 2 a lot. Just for reference, right? I played like 200 plus hours of the original Destiny, but I came in at the Taken King, right? So I skipped all of vanilla Destiny. I came in Taken King, played through that, and then played through the Rise of Iron as well. So I played a lot of Destiny, but I came in when it was good. So like my relationship with Destiny has always been on the upswing, which is good. So we'll start with you, Teddy. What is your relationship with OG Destiny?
Destiny is my most played video game. I have about 1,200 hours in Destiny 1.
Nice.
I played since launch, since the beta. I didn't do the alpha because I was at camp and I missed out on that. But no, I've played Destiny. I love the original Destiny. I love Destiny 2 for the most part. But the original Destiny I played a ton. I really enjoy raiding. Like if it weren't for the raids in Destiny, I would have quit a long time ago, honestly. The raids, there's nothing else like the raids in Destiny.
I agree. Jerrad, what about you?
So you talked about how you came in during the Taken King. I was kind of the direct opposite. So I played vanilla Destiny for a long time. I think I put in over 150 hours, I would say, into just vanilla Destiny. Loved it. Had a great time. Like Teddy said, hopefully I'm getting your name correct. Yeah. The raids were fantastic. I'm not somebody who grew up playing on PC, so I didn't experience it on WoW. Yeah. I didn't really know that feeling of playing through a raid, something very complicated like that with friends. So for me, it was the first time doing something like that with friends and getting like a goal like that accomplished. But when the first Destiny DLC came out, which was the fall, what was the first one called? Fall.
Oh, the Dark Below.
The Dark Below?
Yeah.
Was the Dark Below the first one? Okay.
Yeah.
So when that came out, one of my buddies purchased it first before we did, and he started talking about how it was like retreading content from the vanilla game, and started complaining about it. And then reviews started coming out, obviously, and we're kind of saying the same thing. So I hard stopped on it. And then just basically what happened is by the time Taken King came out, I was over Destiny. I play so many games that it's hard for me to go back and play something that I'm kind of out of touch with. It's just hard, constantly moving forward. So, as much as I hear about Destiny being great after the Taken King and being a whole new game and having such an extended amount of playtime, it just never ranked for me because I never went back to it. So I kind of came into Destiny 2 very jaded in a sense because I didn't get the whole experience that everyone else did. So that's kind of my perspective going into Destiny 2.
Okay. It's good that you at least still got to see Volta Glass, though.
Yeah.
Which was still,
very important.
I ended up doing that raid before Taken King came out, or the King's Fall came out, so I still managed to do Volta Glass. Chris, what about you?
King's Fall Raid saved Destiny for me. I wasn't.
Saved your soul.
It really did. First of all, I don't like first-person shooters, so like this game is like anti. Yeah, and I also this is the first game that I played where I was online playing with other people that I didn't know. So I was on a business trip for about 6 months, and I originally had it on Xbox. I transitioned right at the Taken King to PS4. And because it was easy to travel with, and I just started playing like hotel room. I'm like, I'm tired of playing by myself. Like, let's see if I can hop into like a clan. And that's how I started. So I went actually backwards. I started Taken King, finished that, and then went back to the original Destiny. And I had easily, I don't know, probably 800 hours total between the two, between PS4 and Xbox. I completed both raids on either side, but it was really cool to kind of go back and play Vault of Glass and stuff. I didn't see all the stuff that everybody else saw.
Okay. I will say, I know Destiny has ruined me as a person because I've recently purchased Destiny 2 on Xbox One as well.
Oh, wow.
And now I'm just one of those people that does both, and I am ruined. But I'm not like a PC elitist, at least. So, has anyone here played the game on PC, Destiny 2?
I have it on PC.
Okay.
I haven't.
Okay. I've seen it running. I haven't played it myself, but I've seen it running. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
I have like 10 hours on PC. I have like 60, or actually, no, that's a lie. That was in like the first 2 weeks. I have like 150 on PS4, and then I have like 10 on PC. And most of my friends are on PC, so I should grind there, but I kind of just don't want to do the grind all over again.
Yeah.
Like it's a lot.
The tricky question now is, where is everyone at with Destiny 2 right now? Because
wow.
Because like I understand that, you know, I love Destiny 2. It's definitely one of my favorite games from 2017. But I understand that it is, let's say, in a poor position currently in January of 2018 when we were recording this. So I could understand kind of having fallen off of it or whatever, but like for the most part, I don't like play as regularly as I did before. I enjoyed my time with the first expansion that came out. It wasn't obviously blowing my skirt up or anything, but I thought it was fine. But I'm just curious where everyone is with Destiny, especially considering all the decisions Bungie has made recently. So, Chris, where is your relationship with Destiny in January of 2018?
Destiny right now is like a girlfriend I don't really talk to very much, and then every once in a while, like I call her back up again. So like when like a new thing pops up, I'm like, oh yeah, Destiny. Yeah, I put over 100 hours in with the raid, and then I fell off, and then I went back and I've done the little mini raid, and I completed it once, and I was like, well, that's enough for me. I'll see you later, because there's so many Game of the Years that I wanted to play that I just kind of moved on.
Yeah, and that's fair. I don't think Destiny, as much as Bungie wants it to be, needs to be the game that you play every day. I think it can be a game that is great when new content comes out. And I know there are plenty of people that disagree with me, and I understand that. Jerrad, what about you?
I guess to keep with the analogy, I would say that Destiny 2 is like a scorned ex-lover who I'll never see again. Yeah.
Do you not plan on going back at this point?
No, man. So it's kind of just falling into the same rabbit hole that the first Destiny did. And it's like, so I loved my time with Destiny 2. Absolutely loved it. Like, it actually completely turned me 180 to how I felt after I finished the first Destiny. I came into Destiny 2. I was very jaded. I was a cynic for the most part. A lot of my friends were like, oh, let's get Destiny 2. Let's get Destiny 2. And obviously I'm somebody who keeps a close ear to the industry like all of you guys do. So I was kind of like, well, let's wait. Let's wait and see what's going on. And the reviews started coming out, and people were like, oh, actually, no, it's trending upwards. So we ended up picking up the game, played through it, had a blast. Leviathan Raid was great. Obviously, we'll probably get into that later. But as far as like my current state now, that the DLC came out, is it Curse of Osiris?
Curse of Osiris.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Curse of Osiris, right? Okay. I just want to make sure I was getting the name correct.
Yeah.
Waited for reviews for that. One of my friends didn't. He pre-purchased it, so he was the only one out of all of us that ended up picking up the DLC. I think he's played through part of it. Anyways, I read through a lot of the reviews on the IGNs and the GameSpots and stuff like that, and it just didn't seem like it was worth the purchase for me. Kind of in the same boat as Chris, of like, there's so many games out there now, especially with like my Switch, where all these indies that were on PC only are now coming to a console handheld space where I can play them a lot easier. Mm-hmm. I just don't have the money to spend on the DLC that I don't think is necessarily worth it, in my opinion. And as far as going back to it, it's going to be the other thing where, the next DLC that comes out could be Taken King 2.0, right? And shift Destiny 2 into a completely new and great direction. The problem is, look at the slate of games in 2018, we don't have dates for some of the big ones, but like Red Dead 2 is going to have an online component. We have Anthem hopefully later in the year. We have all these, even Far Cry 5 has, online co-op. Like, there's all these games that are going to be taking my time away that I don't know if I want to go back to Destiny 2. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's kind of hard because I love Destiny 2, but I just don't think I'll ever have time for it again, you know, no matter how good that next DLC is.
We'll revisit that, I'm sure, by the end of it. What about you, Teddy?
Man, it's sad. It's really, really sad. I'm like I said, Destiny was like my thing. I streamed before I even streamed on my current Twitch channel. I streamed on a Twitch channel in Destiny Year 1, like almost every night, playing constantly. Like, I love Destiny. I have 1,200 hours in it. I was so ready for this. I bought the $100 version on PS4 and on PC before it even came out. So I'm not even gonna worry about I'm gonna play it no matter what, you know. And then am I gonna play it on PC? I probably shouldn't have bought that one. But yeah, so where I'm at with it right now is I still love it. It's still a good game. I really want to do the raid a lot more often, but I can't convince my friends to do it. Like, I'm still there trying to be like, hey guys, let's do the raid. And they don't want to, or they're busy, and that never works out. So honestly, I still play it every couple of weeks. The Masterworks update is really good for the game. And that adds something that I want to grind for. The ornaments update as well is really good. I want to grind for the Vanguard ornaments specifically. But like, it's just, I need people, I need my friends to get back into it. And even then though, it's kind of just the raids. Like that, the raid lair and the regular Leviathan raid are all I really want to do. You know, so there's not too much for me at the moment.
That Destiny for me is like comfort food. Like, I can pop on a podcast and just hop in and either grind for whatever, or it's an opportunity for me with some clan friends to just BS and catch up on what they did for the week. Like, that's what Destiny is to me.
One of my all-time favorite time periods of Destiny 1 was during the Age of Triumph update, where there were 4 raids that were relevant. Every week we would get on, we would have 6 people, we would do the raid that week, and then next Tuesday we'd meet again, do the next one. And it was like a ritual. You know, we met with the same people, we hung out, and we got to talk about our week and all that. And it was fun. And the Destiny 2 is not inspiring people to do that at the moment, which is a bummer.
Chris, I have a question for you real quick. You said you're not into FPSs, right?
No.
Yeah, so the interesting thing there is you said, you know, it's like grouping up with people and playing Destiny 2 because it's a blast and you're having a good time. I kind of had that before with Call of Duty 4 with Modern Warfare, and I had a group of buddies that I played with nonstop every day. And then when Destiny came out, same thing. Destiny 2 came out. I have a different group of friends I'm playing with, but the problem is I don't think there was enough there on the end of the stick to keep everyone interested. Absolutely. So it's like I've gone through this like multiple times where out of like those 3 cases for me, Call of Duty 4, the first Destiny, and this is the one that seems to have the shortest tail, you know, in my personal experience.
Yeah.
So,
well, Destiny 1, the carrot was Destiny 2. Now that you've played Destiny 2, there's no carrot for Destiny 3. It's like, okay, we've already played this game before. I get this. I already know what it is.
And then in hindsight, was that carrot even worth it? That's a whole other discussion.
Well, I think there was a lot of carrots in Destiny 1. In Year 1 specifically, I didn't get all of my exotics for like 10 months.
Yeah, I agree with you
played like 500, 600 hours in Year 1. Like at least half of my time in that game is Year 1. Like, I played a lot in the first year, and I just wanted the exotics, and it took forever. And there's nothing like that. There's nothing like that in Destiny 2. Nothing even close.
The random rolls was another carrot because you had these random rolls, and if you got the god roll, like you're like, oh, I've got the god roll. Like, you're really excited about that. But now it's just like everybody gets the same thing. So, you know.
Yeah. And the Masterworks is a step closer to random rolls, but it's not impactful enough. I do like the rarity of the Masterworks, though. They're pretty rare. Like, you don't get them super often.
And
so that helps.
There's a give and take, too. You know, like, Destiny 2 is a big part of its rebalancing is, like, making loot so much more attainable, making exotics so much more attainable, just to make the game feel like it's giving you rewards more regularly, where, like, you know, the dry loot desert that was Destiny 1, you can, like, think back to and be like, man, I finally found the Oasis and I have everything I want, but is it what I wanted?
Was it worth it?
Was it worth it?
Don't you think that's a part of like Bungie not knowing what audience they want to go after, though? Because it seems like now they're trying to go after casual, but at the same time trying to entertain the hardcore, and they're kind of in the middle, not hitting either perfectly. It's weird.
I don't know if you heard it, but they did a podcast on like at the end of November talking about the state of the game. And they talked about how they separate their audience into 3 different categories: the tourists, the collectors, and the hobbyists. So the tourists just come in, they play the campaign, and then they leave pretty much. Collectors come in, maybe put like 100 hours, try and get a lot of the gear, and then they leave. And the hobbyists are people who want to come in and play like every day. I'm in the hobbyist group. But they said that they specifically geared the game towards the tourists. And they were like, and that was a mistake. We shouldn't have done that. We should have geared it. And like they're realizing now that it's hard to please all 3 of the different groups for sure.
I think that the complaints would probably be even less if it wasn't for the fact that Massive has completely changed the division and upgraded it so much that now there's a comparison. They were compared at when they were first together, and then they were separated because it was like, well, the division's not really that great of a game. And then all of a sudden Massive has changed that into a really good game. And so now you have Bungie trying to catch up.
I've actually been playing the division lately.
I fell off of that, so it's good to hear that it is getting better.
Yeah.
But to kind of refocus onto Destiny, I mean, like they did make a lot of changes, and some are for the better. And I do want to say, like, I don't think it is inherently bad that Destiny 2 is a game that you play and you kind of finish and you don't go back to. But it does make it a different game than Destiny 1 was. It is personal, right? I'm not out here looking for a game that I'm going to play every week or every day necessarily. And I think Destiny, there was some kind of affection for wanting to get my dailies done, but that not being a part of Destiny 2 for me is not the worst thing in the world. What I do want to focus on, and we can kind of go around the table again here, is some of the big departures from the original Destiny. I'm really curious to hear your perspective, Jerrad, because you didn't play Taken King, but for example, the story in Destiny 2 is a lot more like a story in a video game.
Yep. Cohesive.
Yeah, it has a narrative. I think it has character. It has good characters also. And it definitely takes a lot from the Taken King and the format of that expansion. What did you think of the story, Jerrad?
Well, so this is funny because when Destiny 2 was first revealed and we had that trailer with Cade 6 in the Burning City, me and my friends joked around that trailer, that little teaser, that like 30-second teaser, had more character than the whole first game, at least for what we played. And I'm like, oh, Cade 6, this is the dude that stood at the table and didn't move, right? And said like quippy one-liners that weren't really funny. Yeah, the story in Destiny 2 is great. I'm not like, accompanying all games, but as far as like, in relation to the first Destiny, it had a villain that had motives, which I enjoy. That's one of my big things in video games or in media in general, is I want a villain who isn't just a dumb big guy that's just trying to be evil for evil's sake. And this guy kind of had a motive and he had a story. I like that I didn't have to go and read 5,000 Grimoire cards to get a lore dump, I think they did a lot of good with the story. One thing that's kind of part of the level design that I don't think a lot of people talk about, or I haven't heard people talk about, is in the opening mission in Destiny 2 and the closing mission in Destiny 2, there's this weird like hybrid thing that happens where you see other players fighting in that same mission, right? And that doesn't really happen a whole lot throughout the rest of the game, but in those key moments, you're surrounded by multiple other players at the beginning of the game and at the end of the game when you're going into the ship, when there's those like what's the word I'm looking for? Like barriers, you have to like kill a couple of Cabal and then there's a barrier door and then you have to go through the other group of Cabal. Yeah. Those like end capping and bookmarking like that was really interesting to me because it's kind of showing you that like, after you finish the story, there's multiplayer aspects to this game. There's other people in this world. And I thought it was a very subtle way of teaching the player that without really being overt about it. But yeah, the story was engaging. I loved the big bad in it. I do wish there was a little bit more there, but I guess, it's better than what we got with the first Destiny, where I finished the first Destiny and I was like, okay, what happened? I'm somebody who sits there and pays attention to the game, pays attention to the story, and I love sci-fi. And I was just sitting there lost of like, okay, wait, what did I do again? It just didn't. There wasn't a huge sense of accomplishment. Yeah.
We killed the darkness, but not really. Just like the heart.
So the Vex were. No, we're not gonna. Don't worry.
You don't have time to explain.
I don't have time to explain.
Chris, what about you? What did you think of the story overall?
The story was really It was excellent. I was looking forward to just kind of getting to know side characters a lot better. A lot of the side characters' backstories, like Cade, were just stuff that we learned through the grimoire or through, watching some YouTubers talk about what the backstory was for these characters, and to actually have them voiced and to be able to interact with them and be on some missions with them was interesting to me, and it brought me more into the world.
Mm-hmm. Teddy?
I like the story. It was good. I feel like it was obviously wasn't as good as it could have been. But I was glad that there was a cohesive story. Like Gaul made sense, like why he wanted to do everything that he did. It all made sense. In the end, I knew what was happening. That's all I asked for in Destiny.
Yeah, just tell me, give me something to work over here. Yeah, no, I like Gaul a lot. I mean, he's one of my favorite parts of Destiny 2. I think there are a lot of really fun ways to interpret kind of his final actions in the end too, and kind of his hubris and everything. So I know a lot of lore nuts, like my friend and co-host of my other Destiny 2 podcast, Cameron Abbott. He went nuts over some of the lore implications of Gaul and his actions, and of course, I like that the story itself also felt a little bit more present across the entire game. It's not just the main campaign and the missions there, but it's also feels a little bit more present in the strikes, and especially in the raid as well. And it makes the world feel more fleshed out. I think making it so that there were none of the worlds from the first game was both a good and a bad decision. But you do get to see another slice of this solar system that Destiny is taking place in. So the moons all had a very cool aesthetic and all had a very good introduction to each of those enemy races as well.
I have a question for you real quick about the story. I don't know if you guys felt the same way, but this game felt a lot more old Bungie to me in the terms of the big set pieces. We didn't really see those that much in the first Destiny. In this game, I had some moments where I'm like, oh, this is the Bungie I know from Halo. These set pieces that are beautiful. I just want to know if you guys got more of that feeling, because with the first Destiny, I liked it. Obviously, the gunplay was phenomenal. Bungie's great at that, but it didn't have those big set pieces. Whereas Destiny 2, I think, incorporated them a lot better.
Absolutely, especially near the end, the tank missions. I was like, this is very Halo 2-esque.
Yeah,
it was really cool.
You think about the oh, I'm sorry, Chris, but you think about the mission on the weapon that's trying to destroy the sun and going through that tube at the end where you're flying.
Oh man,
the sun.
That's probably my favorite part of the campaign.
Yeah, it looks incredible, and it's just this sense of scale where you look and everything in all directions is just the sun. There's a visual aspect to the set pieces as well that's really cool.
Also, the extent of where it stretches. I mean, it's just so large and so vast, especially being able to go to the next gen, which is being able to use the Xbox One and the PS4 as opposed to going back to the OG stuff. Mm-hmm. That helped. And the adventures gave this thing a lot of legs because it added a lot of story that they couldn't pack into the base game and allowed you to get a lot of that lore on your own, and it forces you to go that route. There are options, but if you want to get certain weapons, you have to take those adventures in order to get to that, to get that story.
Yeah, side quests that actually feel like side quests. And again, there's a lot that was learned in Destiny. I like the fact that you don't have a sparrow from the beginning, right? It makes you actually walk around these worlds and skip around them.
Yeah, I don't know.
I
I'd have to
not
disagree
liking
with that one.
But
I get why they did it.
Yeah, it makes more sense in that, the EDZ actually feels like a place as opposed to a bunch of blurred images that I'm shooting past on my motorbike.
It's weird we didn't hear about those wizards on the moon. I'm really disappointed in that.
Yeah, I mean,
where'd they go?
Crazy.
We didn't get to go to the moon, so we can't get an actual status update.
Yep.
But obviously the big parts about Destiny are the multiplayer parts of it. I don't know how you all feel about competitive Destiny.
It's almost non-existent in Destiny 2 for a lot of the things that they did with it.
Yeah, I mean,
high level,
Yeah, there's been a big change, and I don't necessarily want to get into Trials of Osiris.
Yeah.
If there is literally only one thing I hate about Destiny, it's I hate Trials of Osiris.
Oh man.
Also known as unfun bad time is what I like to casually call it. But and I liked, you know, Trials, whatever, is fine in the first game. But it's definitely a different thing here. But, you know, switching from 6 players to 4 players, I think, was generally a positive change. And the more casual competitive modes are still fun for me. Especially they did an event for the holidays recently, which had it so that all your powers just recharged like super quick, and it was just bonkers. But the other one is, of course, the raids. I double checked before we started. We've all done the raid.
Yeah.
The Leviathan Raid, I think, is a massive highlight for Destiny 2. What raids had all of you all done before? Teddy, it sounds like you've done all 4.
Yeah, I've done all 4 or 5 now. I actually have not done. I haven't beaten the raid layer. I've tried it like twice because that's the only amount of times I've been able to get 6 people online for it. But I've done all the others.
Jerrad, have you only done Vault of Glass and the new
I've done 3.
Okay.
So I've done Vault of Glass. I did. I'm forgetting it. The second one where there's it's mostly about running in the dark.
Oh yeah.
Yep. Yep. And the Leviathan Raid. So 3. But like hundreds of times. Too many.
Yes.
Unfortunately.
Of course, that's all of us. So.
Yeah.
Chris, what about you?
I've done all of them. Yeah, and I just went through. We went through the raid layer blind, which was a lot. Going blind, like that's the way to go. Like that is so much fun. It's the first time that I've done it where I haven't known at least a little bit of what I was getting into, and man, it was a blast. We were like laughing and we're yelling, but then we're laughing again, and it was like when you get it, it's so cool. It's like oh, we figured it out, like, and everybody's cheering. So like that part was the best.
Yeah, I've done everything but Crota's End, because you could question me to be a terrible person, whatever you say, but I wanted to do Crota's End legit, and let alone finding 5 other people that want to do Crota's End is hard enough as it is, but finding 5 people that want to do it the way it's supposed to be done, versus cheesing it is impossible, actually.
Yeah.
It turns out that it is not a possible thing to do.
During Age of Triumph specifically, there would be a different one that was like the challenge and the raid that week. Every time it was Crota's End, it was like, hey guys, where is everybody? Come on, please.
Come on,
man, that's so funny that you guys say that, because we completed legitimately. And the funny story there is that we completed it, and then after we completed it, we were like, okay, now that we've done it, let's look up the really fast ways to do it so we can just get in and get out, right? Efficiency. And that's when we solved the cheeses, and we're like, oh, we could have done this the entire time. But then looking back at it, you get a bigger sense of accomplishment. You're like, oh, we didn't have to do that to complete it. You know?
We cheese the bridge every time. I'm not sure if we had ever done the bridge legit. Maybe once.
I'm sure you haven't. How about that? I'll say
for
you.
It was so bad.
The cool thing is, going into Destiny 1, I had done Vault of Glass blind. I'd found, 4 people, 1 person had done it before, and they were kind of like letting us do our thing. And we did that blind. That was awesome. I'd done Wrath of the Machine blind, which might still be my favorite of all. Those.
Right side of history.
Yeah, and Leviathan we had started doing blind as well. But once you get to the final boss, it's just a miserable time.
Man, Callus.
How do you guys feel about the Leviathan raid? I'm just curious what your favorite and least favorite sections are as well. I guess. Teddy,
I guess.
Oh, go ahead.
No, yeah, Teddy can go first. I was just gonna go because nobody was talking, but
I'll say, first of all, when it comes to where I would rank Leviathan in all of the raids, I put Leviathan at 3.
Okay.
I put Wrath as number 1, Vault as 2, Leviathan as 3, King's Fall is 4, and Crota's End is 5. And Leviathan is really good. I enjoy it. My favorite section of it is probably the Gauntlet. I really like the Gauntlet. It's super cool.
Too,
yeah, the Gauntlet's awesome. And then least favorite is the dogs. The dogs were so bad. They're not that bad now, but like we went through it blind as well, and doing the dogs blind was what killed us. We blew through every other encounter in like 2 hours or less, and then we were on the dogs for like 14 hours total. Like we did like 4 hours one night, 4 hours, and we were like, no, we're not looking this up. We're gonna get this. They kept glitching too. It
Yeah, especially like that first couple of weeks, it was rough.
Yeah.
But I mean, you want to talk about obtuse puzzle solving.
Yeah, it was very weird. I don't know. It's a lot of like figuring out the patterns, and then it's just patterns, but like you have to make them yourself. It was rough. But
go ahead, Chris.
I liked the Leviathan Raid. For me, King's Fall is always going to have a place, just because it was. I remember where I was at when we took him down, and I was so. It was like the last run early in the morning. Like I was so excited. But Callus is probably my favorite of any part of that raid. I really enjoy the end. I like being on the inside, like where everybody gets mad about the rocks and they're like people are flying everywhere because of invisible rocks hitting people. I actually found that to be the best part. So I always hang on the inside.
Yeah, I like that part too. Like, don't get me wrong. What about your least favorite part?
Oh, my least favorite part is the dogs. That's not even a question. Like it's literally painful. Like it's bad memories. Like you twitch a little bit, like remembering that you were. But yeah.
It's so easy now that we all have like mercilesses that power, and we're just like, okay, get to it, kill it in one, and then we're leaving.
Yeah. Well, it's also easy like when you know where everything is and like you know all the patterns because you've spent 8 hours total just like walking around the foggy forest down there, just thinking about life, thinking about all the mistakes you made to get there.
Trying not to murder the rest of your team.
Yeah, it's like,
and
no,
not
don't
be murdered
go,
by
don't
them.
go. Jerrad, what about you?
Yeah, so the dogs actually weren't that bad for my group because we have a group of 3 Titans, double arc grenades for everybody, so it makes it a lot easier. Yeah. Also, we have a very good team dynamic, and I think that's something that I appreciate in all the raids I've done. We basically have this good flow of the people who are the quote-unquote leaders and the people who just listen, and that's not like, a superiority thing. It's just like we know who's better at listening and doing and who's better at just telling everybody what to do, right? And it just works for us. And with this raid, it wasn't a whole lot based on gun skill, which I liked because for my group, it made it a lot more enjoyable because I play with not everybody I play with MLG, right? My gun skill's pretty good. I have a couple other friends whose gun skill's really good, but there's other people that I play with that's not their strength. They don't enjoy Destiny solely for the shooting aspects. And I think when you have these type of raids where it's solely focused more on the puzzle elements and figuring these things out and just kind of accomplishing your specific goal, I think it allows a lot more people to enjoy it, and that's what was great for me. My favorite part is the gauntlet too. I like having people work together and synchronize the way you have to in the gauntlet. I like Callus too. I thought Callus was fine. Once again, we have our areas where we go to, and it never really was an issue. Mm-hmm. The dogs, they were probably the most annoying out of all of them. But like I said, with the double arc grenades, it was fine. The bast meat is probably the weakest part of the raid, in my opinion, because unlike the other ones where there's a lot of movement and figuring things out, the bats is kind of like stand in the spot, kill stuff, go to the middle. Like it's very boring and tedious. So I would say the bast is probably my least favorite, and my favorite is probably Gauntlet. If I had to, I love the underbelly too. Like the whole underbelly part of the Leviathan Raid is really cool to me. Yeah. So
it's a cool idea too.
Just throwing this out there, the baths is basically the totems in King's Fall, so just remember that.
Yeah. and like, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Chris.
I was going to say, do you find when you're with groups where you either don't know people or you're joining with different groups, there's always one voice that like kind of stands out? Like you just find yourself kind of clinging to that voice and you're like, okay, that's the person we're listening to, kind of like regardless of what goes on, and everybody just kind of parts. Yeah. I find that whether the person actually knows what they're doing when we're going through this, or if it's just somebody who's very confident in the gameplay of like Destiny or other games, but like that part I really enjoy. I enjoy the teamwork aspect where all of a sudden there's a captain, and it might be a person who in like regular terms is not that person, but in this game that they're that person.
Yeah, they rise to the occasion.
I like, and I think like the raids, because of these weird like 6-person cooperative things, like there's so few console video games that bring that out. Much like a lot of you, I never really got into raiding in MMOs. Like I played a very, very little bit of WoW, and boy, that's not for me.
Same. Right there with
I've been playing that all this last week, but mainly fishing. So,
so that doesn't count. But like having like that first Full to Glass raid and King's Fall and then Wrath of the Machine, those are some of my favorite multiplayer experiences ever. Like full stop, in video games. Just because I think, especially in Leviathan, it is demanding of a cooperation in a way that like nothing else is. Like you think about that Callus fight where you're split into 2 groups of 3, and and everyone has a job and everyone knows what they're supposed to do, and there's like this level of coordination that has to be inherent, or else everything just kind of falls apart. And I just think that's very, very cool. And I will say like this in defense of the Bats, because I think the Bats is a totally fine section. It is a lot like the Tidums in Kingsfall, but it is a really good first section to a raid. Like it's a good icebreaker as far as like understanding the different symbols and knowing the kind of levels of coordination and getting used to splitting into 2 groups of 3. It has a good feeling for that. As for me, like I would say maybe the gauntlet is my favorite part. Like I like the dogs because like I hate myself. So
self-loathing.
Solid reason.
I really like the mechanics in play in the dogs fight, just because of like, you know, a group of 2, a group of 4, kind of like moving throughout the call outs and like knowing that field so well because you have to by the end of that is really cool. And then like, you know, the dogs break and everyone runs to their dog and does as much damage as they can. Like there's a kind of sense of space in that room that you get so familiar with that I don't think anything else really evokes.
I have a question for you real quick.
Yeah.
What the groups that you guys played with, what did you guys call the I don't even want to use the name because I don't want to give it away. The things that you hold in the dog room, what did your groups call them? I'm just interested to hear your guys's, if you had any nicknames for them or anything.
We didn't have a fun nickname. We just called them the prison weapons, and I feel bad.
Okay, we just called them, my group called them acorns. That's grab your acorn, yeah.
Oh, the pollens? Those things?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No, we just said pollen.
We said just grab your flower.
Or, flower as well.
Yeah.
I feel like this raid specifically, more than almost any other, the coordination has to be on point with everybody. Like it's less being able to carry somebody because you almost have to re-explain almost, you know, half an hour worth of that you need to do this and we need to move there. It's hard to like just get somebody through it if they don't know what they're doing because one mistake kind of blows everything. Whereas in like Kingsfall, you could basically carry somebody through a lot of that raid without having for them to do very much.
Yeah. Man, that goes super hard in Callous too, because you have 3 people, or depending on how you split it, but like 3 people in the Shadow Realm, 3 people in the Throne Room, and if even one person's not pulling their weight, it's very tough. Like you're as strong as your weakest link in this raid, and I think that's pretty cool. Yeah. Good point there.
It makes the team of 6 feel so important to like making it happen. Whereas like, you know, you look at all the stories of Destiny 1 and it's like, yeah, we beat the raid with 2 people. Cool. I'm like, all right, Jesus.
Beat it with a Rock Band set.
I beat it with Rock Band and it was just me by myself. I chased the bridge. It's like, all right.
Man. Those stories.
Yeah, but like this is way more, the stories coming out of this are way more of like, you know, our team banded together. And I got to play like with a lot of different people across the year and like seeing all the different team dynamics has been really, really fun. Real quick, just because I'm curious, and Chris, you're the only one that's finished it. It sounds like what's that raid layer like?
It's a lot of fun. I'll be honest, it's not really difficult until you get about 3/4 of the way through, and then it becomes very much like Wrath. You know, where against the walls but right before you get to the end, and you have to find the spots on the walls, and then you have to make sure you shoot those before you can get to the end stage. It's the same exact thing about 3/4 of the way through, and it's Void and Arc, and you have to figure out which one it is, and then everybody has to go to that spot and grab that weapon and try to shoot that spot, and you're circling the map. So it reminds me a lot of that. It also reminds me a lot of in Wrath when you're having to shoot those cannons across when somebody yells out Void, and you have to shoot across the map. That's exactly what that last stage is. So that part I found really, really fun because it felt familiar. It's just a matter of getting it coordinated because at first it took like a good hour for us to figure that's what you had to do out. And then it was like, oh, it's just like, and then you kind of make those connections.
That's cool. It's cool. Like I imagine all of you have like a group that you run with also, like your raid group, your raid fam, if I may.
Yeah.
And it was cool.
I used to, and then they all left me. Not all of them, but
like it was cool too because like I solicited kind of a group through Twitter of like, hey, I want to do this raid blind, who's in? And obviously you're asking a lot of someone in that case. But the 6 of us have become like this weird core group of people from like the casual to hardcore spectrum that it has a very good dynamic, let's say. And all of us hate Trials of Osiris, or Trials of the Nine, excuse me. So it worked out. The lesson, kind of like a final point here, and a little bit of a final word on Destiny 2. They made a lot of changes to kind of the grinding and the different things that you can do throughout the planets, and just like the layers of fun that you can have either with friends or by yourself. And I just kind of wanted to go around and see like what everyone's favorite aspect of those, or favorite new thing, or just maybe a thing that returned in Destiny that is just as good, if not better, here. And for me, like, I know it's such a terrible answer, but because everyone does probably 10,000 of them. But the public events are really great in this game, and it adds a new layer to, like, because boy, does killing any tank in Destiny 1 is just the worst thing in the world. And they made it very easy in this game, but like it's also kind of really satisfying as someone who put 200 plus hours into Destiny 1 that is just like, hey, I'm gonna mess this tank up right now. And like one of the public events is just like, I don't know, blow up 2 tanks, I guess, if you want to do the heroic one. But like the fact that there are kind of like hidden objectives in each of them, and the new one on Mercury for the expansion is like really good. I don't know if all of you have seen that, but it's very, very fun. And it requires a lot of dunking, which is one of my favorite pastimes in Destiny. So like that was just like a thing going from Destiny 1 to Destiny 2 that really, really improved for me. What about you, Jerrad? Was there something that stuck out for you?
So like my favorite improvement, like the biggest improvement to me?
Sure. Or just, a part of Destiny 2 that really stuck out to you.
I mean, I have to agree with you that the public events do feel a lot better than what I remember from the first game. I think I obviously have the biggest length between playing Destiny 1 and now than you guys do in a very long time. Chris alluded to this earlier. The adventures, I think, were a great addition that added a lot of longevity. Because like, as good as the public events are, they get very tedious, no matter how much you love them. And I think the adventures were like, oh, this is something I haven't done yet. Oh, there's like a weapon attached to this or some kind of reward. That's my... I don't want to harp on this too long, but like that's one of my biggest gripes of Destiny 2 is I think that there isn't enough reward for exploration in that sense with the adventures of like custom sets of armor or stuff like that. Like Teddy was mentioning how they had these 3 slices of these players that they had. What were they? The hobbyist, the collector, and the tourist.
Yep.
Right? Yeah. How can you be a collector in this game when the vault is so small?
I don't want to talk about the vault.
Yeah. I love collecting pieces of armor in games, especially ones that look really dope, and like figuring out what shaders you want to use and stuff like that. And that was the biggest thing is in a point of this game, I was really infatuated with the armor sets and I was collecting them. And then I realized, oh yeah, there's not enough space here for what I want to do. And I hard quit on that. But I really wish that they, as much as I like the adventures and what Chris said, how they added a lot of depth to the game, I wish there was more rewards there of like really cool armor pieces and stuff like that. And what's the name of the new thing they added, Teddy, in the DLC that you were talking about, the weapon enhancements? What is it called?
The forged weapons?
No, the one Masterworks?
Oh, Masterworks, yeah.
Yeah, that would have been something if that was implemented in the base game, that could be rewards for adventures too. There's just some stuff there that I wish they would have added, but like having those adventures there is a good stepping stone, and the next DLC might have something to that adds even more. So,
What about you, Chris?
My favorite aspect, and it's not that of everybody else's, is I like the PvP now. I used to be the person that when I played PvP, I'm not great at it because I'm not a first person shooter guy. So like when I jumped in, all my friends after the story in D1 were playing it, and I'm like, this is boring. I'm getting killed every 2 seconds. In this, I have a shot. Like, I might not be great, but at least I feel like my kill death it doesn't exist. So assists. I get a lot of assists. So that makes me feel a lot better.
Your efficiency, as they call
my
it.
efficiency.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the part of Destiny 2 that I actually now really enjoy playing. I like playing PvP. I don't like the same things that you don't like about trials. And oh man, that's like hardcore people that are just out to like wipe you. But when you play normal or you're playing Iron Banner, that's fun for me.
That is true. And like Iron Banner is always a good time because like I feel like that is such a community get together for multiplayer that it has more of a jolly undertone to it. What about you, Teddy?
What specifically stuck out? I mean, the clan features are really, really a great addition. Like shocked me in Destiny 1 when you couldn't invite somebody to your clan in game. I would meet somebody in LFG and I'd be like, hey man, you know, that's great. Join our clan. And I'm like, oh yeah, let me send you this link in PlayStation Network, I guess.
Let me get your email.
What's your email?
Yeah, give me your email. I'll send it to you there. A lot of the quality of life things are really good. Like the clan features, the milestone system, I think I'm still conflicted because like, I'm not sure if it's better than the quest system, but it's really streamlined. It works really well. And you know, having a story that makes sense is really, really good.
It's really good. I can't undersell this enough, guys. I like to know what's happening.
It's crazy.
Yeah. I'll say this also, being able to actually see a person move in front of you and talk and animate like a real person instead of going into like this pale background wall. And it's like, I guess you're selling me things now, is really great. So I appreciate all those moments. Even like in the DLC, there's a moment where Ikora is like there, and it's like, oh wow, I didn't even know this game could do this.
Didn't know you were allowed outside of the tower. Wow.
Yeah. So there's kind of a dynamic for it going forward. I think like things like the rewards for adventures too can improve with time, and I know there's a lot of hesitancy with Destiny 2 at the moment, but I genuinely believe that Bungie is trying to do something good with it, and they're trying to strike a balance, and that isn't something that you can do well, but Destiny 1 was absolutely too far in the other direction. And it was like, it's one of those things where it's like, I would love you to play this game with me, but to be honest, it's really hard to get into.
Yeah.
And Destiny 2 is far more lighthearted and far more easy to recommend, I would say. It's easier to jump into, even if it isn't as deep and rewarding as the original was because of that. And I think Bungie will find their balance at some point, and I do, or at least I want to believe that they didn't mean any harm by some of the mistakes they've made along the way. And they're going to make good on the promise of Destiny 2. I do think that's going to take time, and I do think they're going to lose some people along the way. But as kind of a last thought here, we'll go one more thing around. What does Destiny 2 need to do to get you back? To get you back in love with to make you call this old ex-girlfriend or ex-boyfriend or whatever more often. Teddy, take me on a journey.
All right, Eververse. I was gonna say, I can't believe we've gone this whole time we haven't mentioned Eververse. For the love of God, please change the Eververse. It needs a lot of work. I can't even fully get started on how, but you know, first of all, you know, it'd be nice to let me just buy the thing that I want instead of having to go directly through a loot box. That would be cool. We need more ways to earn that through the game as well. The bright engrams, how you get them in the game is kind of not enough. But other than Eververse, I mean, the end game, man, you can absolutely cater the game towards the tourists and the hobbyists, the casual and the hardcore. You can do both. Like, there can just be a ship in the Leviathan that, like in Wrath of the Machine, there was a ship on Axis that dropped on hard mode that I never saw drop for anyone. I have like 30 completions on that raid. I never saw it drop for anyone, but I knew it was out there. So I wanted to run that raid because I wanted that ship. I wanted the white whale, you know, I wanted something rare. There's nothing rare, important gear-wise. Like now, Zur is selling faded engrams, so you can just go to him every week and pay legendary shards, and you get an exotic that you didn't already have. Like that's.
Do you remember how hard it was to get a Galahorn?
Oh my God. Pepper's Farm remembers. Man, so just I don't want it completely back to like year one because that's ridiculous, but there needs to be something to chase. And they're already making good on that with Masterworks. I hope that a lot of the design for the guns, legendary and exotic, has just been, they've been playing it safe because, you know, they broke Destiny 1 with a lot of weapons. So I really hope that they step out of the box and they kind of make some pretty exciting exotic armor pieces and guns that actually change your gameplay. And that are hard to get.
And actually challenging to find. What about you, Jerrad? You're the hardest challenge, and that's why I'm the most curious.
Yeah. Hey, your friendly neighborhood cynic here. So I'm gonna be real with you. I probably will never get back to Destiny 2 if I'm being completely honest. But it isn't, it isn't because I hate the game. Like, I do enjoy the base game of Destiny 2. I think the base game for Destiny 2 overall was a better experience for me than the first game. That being said, hearing all, going into Destiny 2, hearing all these people talk about how, oh man, the Taken King changed the game so much. Like, Destiny is a completely different game from launch. I can't wait to see Destiny 2 and the improvements, yada, yada, yada. Then you started hearing the worries of, is this Destiny 2 or is this Destiny 1.5? And then as we start playing the game, a lot of these players that love the first Destiny and played through it started wondering, how come all of these features we loved that you added to the first Destiny, how come they're not here anymore? And it kind of seemed like a step back in a lot of ways. For me, the biggest thing I want for Destiny 2 is a competitor. Chris mentioned The Division, and though they're similar games, I don't think it's a direct competitor at all. I think the first direct competitor it's going to have is Anthem. And obviously there's a whole separate discussion about loot boxes and EA and stuff like that, but the best thing for Destiny and Bungie is to have a competitor. And whether Anthem comes out and is, a 9.0 fantastic game, or if it's a flop, it gives us a bar to measure Destiny against. And I think that's the biggest thing, is there hasn't been a game like this on console that has taken over the way this has. So we don't have a barometer to measure everything against, and we don't know where exactly Destiny sits in that hierarchy. And I think the biggest thing for Destiny is they need Anthem. Like I said, whether Anthem's good or bad, there's a lot of things that Bungie didn't do right with this game. And you can see, people complain about EA all they want, but you see Activision bleeding into this game. People often complain. I know a lot of people who are diehard Xbox guys, and they complain like, man, 343 is cool and all, but I really wish we had Bungie back to make Halo. And I sit here and I think, well, is that something we want? Because as much as Bungie can nail gunplay, there's a lot of things that Destiny 2 doesn't do right that I'm like, I could see this from a studio that's like 5 years old, not from Bungie. I expect a lot more from Bungie, Destiny 1 left me high and dry. Destiny 2, I came in as a cynic. Destiny 3, I think I'm even more cynical about, because they touted this 10-year game. You're going to have this character that lives on. Outside of that video that you get at the beginning of the game, you guys who spent way more time in Destiny 1 than I did, what did you get out of it that I didn't? An emblem, a shader.
Emblem, yep, that's pretty much it.
Although I would say that video at the beginning of the game is very good. The little the memories of it. That was genuinely poignant for me, because each of my first raid experiences with each of the raids that
I agree with you.
Definitely cool.
But Jerrad, that's the point. The carrot on that stick that we've all been talking about was, we thought that our character was going to continue, and then we found out that none of the stuff carried over. So now there's nothing. It's like, well, I don't want to go to 310 or 320. Why? I'll stop at 305. Just doesn't really matter.
Exactly, and that's the thing, is I didn't chase the carrot as long as you guys did, and it irritated me. So I could just imagine how many people were irritated by that fact of we all know how much time we put into games. We know how much time we shouldn't put into games, but we do. And when it isn't rewarded, when you're kind of promised that, it sucks. And I hate to be the jaded guy or the cynic or whatever, but Destiny 2 needs competition more now than ever. And, people should hope and desire that Anthem becomes a great game and is a great game, because that'll only make Destiny 3 that much better and have them strive to be a better game. I want to love Destiny 2 more than I do, and I want to enjoy it and play it more, but I just, and to Alex's point, he said it doesn't need to be the game you play all the time, but when it's marketed that way and it's designed that way, but not really, they don't know what they're going after. Teddy said, they have the 3 different variations of audiences they're going after, and they focus on tourists. I don't know about that. I don't necessarily believe 100% that that's who they focused on. I think they try to cut an equal slice of pie for everybody, and they didn't deliver on all of those. Yeah. So, yeah, I hope Destiny 3 is great, but Anthem is the big barometer for me, and the next piece of DLC for Destiny 2. Those 2 things are the biggest events for Bungie moving forward.
Yeah, and I not even just this second expansion part of the expansion pass of Destiny 2 that is coming, that will probably be more minor. I think whatever the major expansion is that comes presumably next fall, or this coming fall, excuse me. Destiny 2 Year 2, whatever that ends up being, I'm very excited to see.
Teddy and Chris, I have a quick question. Sorry to interject. Both of you played from the base game, and then you played all of the DLCs afterwards, right, for Destiny?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, and Alex, you said you jumped in on the Taken King, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so for you two, Teddy and Chris, do you think that Destiny 2 is in a worse place now after the Curse of Osiris than Destiny was after the first DLC? Because I feel it is. I think it's in a way worse place. I think the community feels a lot more let down, in my opinion, because they saw how well the Taken King was. And
how the game is doing compared to how the community is doing is way different. Like,
but that's a level of expectation. That's the problem. It's the expectation level is set at a different rate. Like, because people who are in the community in Destiny 1 didn't know what to expect. Now they have the barometer of the Taken King and the barometer of Wrath. And so when they're not getting a DLC that's like that, especially when they're touted as being such huge, big expansions, and they're not that big and it's not very long, it really lets everybody down.
Yeah.
But just in comparison between where Destiny 1 was after the Dark Below to where Destiny 2 is after Curse of Osiris, Destiny 2 after Curse of Osiris is easily like a better quality game. Like, by far.
I phrased that incorrectly. I meant basically like players leaving, like that point, that state of the game, not necessarily quality wise. Yeah.
Definitely worse off, because around the Dark Below is when people started getting really, really into it. And that's when people were still like, there was a lot of people, critics, like it didn't do well critically. And a lot of the people who came in expecting a good story were gone. But there was a really hardcore audience. There was a really small, but like growing hardcore audience that grew through each expansion. Whereas now that hardcore audience is not what Destiny 2 is for, and they're slowly trickling out.
And the player drop-off, we have games now like PUBG, we have Monster Hunter World around the corner. Like, the consoles are getting these games that are more multiplayer focused now, where when the first Destiny came out, it was more in a vacuum without any competitors, really. And now we're seeing more and more.
Year after PS4 and Xbox One launched, it was a very different ecosystem.
Yeah.
Chris, you're fine. One last thought. How can Destiny pull you back?
There's like minor fixes, and I'm sure that Teddy experiences this. If I'm on my PC and I just want to knock something out of my vault, that's fine. But if I'm on my phone, I can't knock something out of my vault and just scrap it. I want to do that. I want to be able to just scrap it off my phone while I'm busy playing. It's something really simplistic, but like if I'm at work and I'm like, yep, get rid of that, get rid of that, get rid of that, that would make my life a little bit easier. To the rest of your points about making the game a little bit stronger as far as the end game is concerned, I'd rather not just play a harder version of the same boss. Give me something else. Make it another level bigger than that. Have a raid layer for the casuals, and then have the expansion or the large raid for the hardcore, and make it really complicated and complex. I'd really appreciate that. And as far as PvP is concerned, you took away snipers, man. Like,
oh man,
sniping is not even a thing anymore. So everything is close combat, and close combat, you think shotgun, but those are nerfed. So you can't use a shotgun, and you can't use but nobody's going to use a grenade launcher. Those are terrible. So
other than the colony, that one's fun.
Yeah, but like I love sniping, and that was part of the fun of sitting back and being able to take people out. And you can't. So they're just little minor changes for me. I'm not a super hardcore person, even though I play a lot of hours. Like, I honestly, not a lot of things that Destiny does affect me where I'm like angry about it. It's like, okay, whatever, I'll just move on and play another game. But I can see where some of these people who play it consistently, meaning like if you're a Twitch streamer and this is your job and this is what you do all day long, I could see how you would be upset at Destiny, because like this is your bread and butter and you guys are not delivering on what was promised.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's a whole other discussion of like what our streamers owed, that's a whole other bag.
Yeah. There's so many people that used to play Destiny on almost every day of the week on their stream, and now are just not. They're like, there's not enough.
Yeah.
Like Grenadier Jake, right, was a huge one, and he doesn't even stream it anymore, right?
I think he does, but just not often.
Yeah.
Destiny 2, a game that we love, but we also don't love.
Just like Destiny 1.
Just like
we're jaded.
I feel like it wouldn't be Destiny without like the two edges to that sword, and I think that's like why I still love it. It's still like kind of like weirdly this ramshackle mess that I return to, because I still like playing it most of all. But I'm glad that we got to kind of talk about both the good and the bad with it, and I think there is a lot to kind of point out and be frustrated with Destiny 2, but overall I think the time spent we don't regret, and the game itself is a joy to play, above probably any other first-person shooter I played this year. Like, just picking up a gun and shooting it in Destiny 2 is some of the best shit that is out there right now, in my opinion.
Agreed.
For sure.
And that's just
that
crazy.
haptic feedback.
That's such good feedback. And that's crazy in a year full of really, really great first-person games. And in a year full of really great games, Destiny 2 is still one of my favorite, and a game that I will return to when there's more to play with it. And I'll probably return to even when there isn't more to play with it, just because I like playing it so much. But thank you all so much for joining me for this roundtable discussion of Destiny 2. I'm sure it was probably cathartic for some people to listen to because of the weird, very mixed emotions with it.
It was cathartic for me to put it out there, you know?
Exactly.
That helped.
And it's good to have kind of both sides of that coin out there. There's going to be more roundtable discussions about video games like this game and like this conversation going out on irrationalpassions.com all this week. And if you liked this and if you like these people like I do, you should check the description on this for the podcast or the website post for this and follow them across the internet as well. But for Chris, for Jerrad, for Teddy, I've been your host, Alex O'Neill, and thank you so much for listening.